The Sworn Book of Honorius, Christian Magic. Medieval grimoires are not particularly unusual. These books of spells were always special, generally held in high regard, and we can be fairly sure all of them did not work. You can imagine how much money these people were charging their quote-unquote clients. Most were roundly condemned by Orthodox religion, with the Catholic Church preferring its own brand of magic. But one book known as Liber Luratis Honori, or the Sworn Book of Honorius, was different. This one held magic spells and rituals in it, same as the others, but this one was Christian. Christian magicians, clerical magicians with Orthodox Christian beliefs compiled this book full of magic spells to control both spiritual and earthly beings to their will. Everyone who used this book was first obliged to swear 9 oaths to maintain the secrets within it. And as the title specifies, the Sworn Book of Honorius was therefore for students who had sworn secrecy before using any of the magic spells mentioned within it. There are only a few manuscripts of it that survive over time. This book has several magical teachings that are executed with particular spells. Among all of the teachings, one included a magical whistle for summoning the spirits. There were a lot of other magical texts that are still being decoded and understood by modern experts. To date, there are few translations, but modern versions of the book do exist. But as per the researchers, the Sworn Book of Honorius has some of the most detailed and oldest magical rituals ever. So how did such pagan magics come to be associated with Christianity? The Sworn Book of Honorius is a grimoire from the medieval period, specifically one which is oath-bound. People who cast the spells written in this book are bonded with an oath to maintain the secrecy of those spells. And there is no specific date on when this book was written or compiled, but it mostly dates back to the High Middle Ages. It's most likely to be a compilation of all prevalent magical knowledge collected into a single book by various magicians in the ancient era. The book contains 93 chapters and covers many topics with spells to deal with them. Some topics were likely saving one's soul from suffering after death or catching thieves. Moreover, it's also had a lot of instructions on how someone can conjure a demon and command it to work out other spells or magical deeds. Moreover, like any other grimoires, it has well elaborated seals and operations that one can use upon proper understanding and execution. So far, so earthly, but some of the spells in the book are considered more heretical. One, for example, offers the caster knowledge of what exists in heaven. Another can be used to grant the caster the powers of an angel, and yet another used for controlling angels themselves. So how does this spell square with Christianity? Well, there were two main things which set this book apart from many other grimoires. The first is that the book claims to a preservation of the magic of Solomon, great Hebrew king of the Bible. Solomon, we know, is also tied in with Kabbalah. Now, Solomon is obviously an important biblical figure and favorite of God. His magic must therefore be also derived from God, and such knowledge therefore must also be non-heretical, else you would need to recast Solomon as satanic. This also ties to the second thing which makes the Sworn Book of Honorius different. The efficacy of the spells was driven by piety, and the belief in the divine. In other words, the spells only work if the caster truly believes in God, specifically the Christian God. This is a neat way to bypass both the problems of this particular text and the problems of spell books as a wider counterpoint to Christianity. Now, Christians can cast spells, but only from this book, only if they believe in the Christian God, and only after they have sworn to never reveal the contents of the book or the spells they have cast. Where did that come from? The Sworn Book of Honorius is assumed to have been created by a group of clerical magicians. In this context, magicians, quote-unquote, are simply the holders of a secret knowledge, and these happen to operate within the framework of the Christian Church. Many aspects of medieval society involved magic, and its practical applications by practical users of magic, and some simple spells could be cast by anyone, perhaps an ominous foreshadowing of Protestant doctrine, if only the Catholics had the wit to see it. But the clerical magicians did essentially the same thing in privacy, to which the other members of the society do not have any access. Only they were considered powerful enough magicians and pious enough Christians, and only they had access to the book. Happily, some copies of the text survived. The spells within incorporate various rituals of altering the world for their benefit in immediate and practical ways. The dangers of such practical magics and the risk to the world order should they fall into the wrong hands is implied as the reason for the secrecy. Honorius himself is said to be the magician, master of Thebes, the son of Euclid, and the sworn book of Honorius was his compilation. He was instructed in his work with the divine aid of the angel Horohel. He was asked to compile this book from the 7 unnamed magic books that existed back then. Upon creation, the magicians who shared their knowledge gathered to ensure its contents were protected. For that, they established a 9-oath series of secrecy for anyone who used the magic spells written within the book. Once someone used the book, he must swear to protect access to all the secrets hidden within the book. Of course, this is just gump designed to make the book appear ancient and mystical and mysterious and powerful and all that. In reality, the spells come from multiple traceable sources. John of Morigny was a monk who studied magical texts known as the Ars Notoria, but later rejected it, claiming it contained a demonic entity. He then compiled his own, cleaner version of this magical knowledge and added to it a text known as the Liber Florum, and these texts were collectively considered the source of the sworn book of Honorius. So much for its provenance and what it contains. The spells within the book represent a complete magical system for summoning and controlling divine spirits. The spells loosely fall into the following groups: those that grant divine vision, those that allow communication with angels, those that grant control over earthly, aerial, or infernal spirits, those that summon and command demons, those that summon and command spirits. Apart from these magics and more, the texts within this book also contained the attributed or authorship of the magical spells. As was true of a lot of grimoires from the medieval age, authorship is traced back to Moses and Adam. The book also offers useful suggestions of how to make the spells work for you, such as creating illusions and thunder, locating hidden treasures, receiving divine wisdom from celestial entities, that sort of thing. But in reality, the text only refers to 2 magic rituals. And within these operations is what all of the magical spells are summed up. The primary operation is a ritual with which the reader of the book can attain the divine vision or vision of God. A clerical magician with a great sense of discipline, spiritual purity, and physical dedication can take up the spell for obtaining this vision. One must have orthodox Christian beliefs. The second important magical ritual is the construction of several magic circles, which act as a means of evoking spirits. Thus, this is one of the clerical magician's most common and preferable magical practices. The duration of these magical operations is mentioned within the book, along with the step-by-step instructions. So this is a clear understanding of the sworn book of Honorius, was compiled and used by magicians over time. Back in the ancient era, even university students were brought under religious beliefs and made to take oaths to use the book. So it seems the Christian church had room for spells so long as they operated within the framework of their church, and so long as they emphasized the primary of the church. If the spell book said that, even summoning demons could be a Christian act. This is on Historic Mysteries by Bipin Dimri. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.